Hello YouTube, welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot with me, Captain Mac. You may recall that we had a little detour off to the side here recently. We flew on out to Colorado and took a trip up to Vail to Eagle County Regional Airport by viewer request. And then now, let's see, from there we went back down to Denver back over to LA, and now here we are in LA ready to get back on our Horizon Air mission in the CRJ 700. And our flight today is from Los Angeles to La Paz, Mexico. And it's the next one on our list here, so let's take a quick look at what we got going on here. There we are back with Horizon Air. Flight number QXE 35 or 353X LAX to MMLP, departing at 18:15 and arriving at 20:35. So it's a 2-hour and 20-minute flight. There it is, CRJ 700, 728 miles to go, and we're ready to rock and roll. Weather will be from Active Sky 2012 as always, and we're still stuck in this default aircraft because unfortunately Aerosoft has yet to release their CRJ, so I am a sad panda. But that's alright, we're going to carry on here. So let's say hop on over to ACARS. Yep, that's what's next. Let's hop over to ACARS, get that set up, and let's get this show on the road, shall we? Alright, here we are on our ACARS, and I did not need to type in the flight number this time. I just clicked on Get Bid because it was the next bid in the it was the next bid on our list there. So we click on Get Bid, it fills in the information for us. Current location LAX, departing from LAX, and of course we want to go down to La Paz. 2 hours 20 minutes, 728 nautical miles. I think it's just a little bit longer with our departure and everything like that. Should be good to go. So let's go ahead and grab a previous route here. And okay, I always like to just take a quick look and see if somebody maybe one of these previous routes has the departure we're taking. None of them do, so we're just going to grab one. We are going to MZB, so that's what we'll take. Doesn't really matter. Once again, this is just for this flight map. If you go on the website and go to live flights, I think is the link, or live flight map, it'll actually let you see where I'm at in the world when I'm flying. And that's what this route is basing it off of. So when you click on my aircraft in the world, it'll show you this route here. I may or may not be on it depending on whether or not it matches up. We could always put in the route we're taking. I'm just not taking the time to do it. Okay, setting up the flight then. Flight plan or the route is already in there. Let's see here, we're heading southeast, so we need to be at an an odd altitude. So pretty good distance flight. What do you say we take this on up to, let's see, let's take it up to 33,000 feet. That's what I'm going to go with today. 33,000 feet looks pretty good to me. And we're ready to rock and roll. The flight simulator is connected, but we're not loaded in yet. Once we're loaded in, we'll hop back on here, click the start flight button, and get ready to rock and roll. Alright, instead of using the parking chart today, I pulled this guy up, and the reason that I did is because one of you left a comment after my last video that mentioned American Eagle parking down at Terminal 4, and I had parked at Terminal 6. So this is where I originally grabbed the information from. Sometimes it can be a little hard to actually find good parking information for the airlines at the various terminals. So we parked over here at 6, and if you look here at Terminal 6, American is there. However, to the subscriber that left the comment, American is also at Terminal 4. You were correct. So the thing here is it doesn't distinguish between American and American Eagle. They both just say American. So I probably just saw American up here first and went with it. Whereas you see for United down here, it shows United and United Express, which is their commuter airline. So since it didn't differentiate for me, I just went with Terminal 6. However, today I'm going to go ahead and go with Terminal 4 and park somewhere down here on the end. Any gate that I can find down here on the end is going to work just fine for me. So that's what we're going to go with for that's where we're parked at today. Yeah, so you see where I got the information from. That's really why I went with this this particular chart today, or it's not even a chart really, it's something I just found online. That's why I went with this instead of the typical parking chart that you find with your Lido charts. So there we go, Terminal 4 today, and yep, that's where we're at. So let's take a look at our airport ground chart so we can see how we're getting to our active runway for departure. So here's Terminal 4 right here, vice Terminal 6, and the weather today, the wind is 120 at 5 knots, so we can take either runway 6 left or right, or 7 left or right. And we're going to go ahead with 7 left because it's the closest to us, and that just makes the most sense. So we'll pull out here, and I believe this is Charlie right here. Oh, it's kind of hard to tell on this, but it looks, yeah, this is Charlie right here, and then it... yeah, that extends all the way down. So we'll pull out here. We'll take Charlie probably down to, it seems to me we'll cut over as soon as we can. So we'll either cut over on Papa, Sierra, one or the other. And then we'll take Bravo down here to our hold short point and use 7 left for our departure today. And that should be easy enough. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, welcome back to LAX, ladies and germs, and welcome back to our Horizon Air CRJ 700. I was getting a little bored of that solid white paint scheme, but here we are, Horizon Air, ready to rock and roll. Let's take care of ACARS real quick. There it is. Everything's all set up. You remember we did that just a minute ago, so we just click on Start Flight. It's always going to tell us that because of the difference between our title of our aircraft model and the way it's titled in ACARS. Not a big deal. Still works just fine. Good there. Shrink that down. So here we are. And yep, we're down. This is Terminal 4 here. Let me go up a little bit higher here. So we're here at Terminal 4 this time. And typical of FSX default traffic, we have us a plethora of different airlines all over the place. But Terminal 6, what do we got? 4, 5, 6 was down here. That's where we parked last time. And you may remember the same person who talked to me about Terminal 4 said that this used to be a restaurant, or maybe it still is. I don't know. But it's pretty cool looking. When again, this is default FSX scenery. So LA was one of the airports that they did a pretty nice job on. They made it look really good. Let's just scroll over here for a second. I want to see what this aircraft is. And if you haven't already seen it, down there's our a new little graphic showing our flight plan for today. I thought I'd try out something different. Let me know what you guys think. And what do we got over here? Is that yeah, Continental Airlines, but that's a throwback, I guess is what you call it. It's a throwback livery there. You know, one of the things that's always driven me nuts in FSX is that when you load in an aircraft, it's always way forward of the parking space. Anybody else ever notice that? I always have to push the aircraft back to get it online. We're online right now, but I had to push it back to do it. Got a lovely 757 next to us there, one of my favorite aircraft of all time. And yeah, so what do you say we hop on in here? I think we got, oh, excuse me, I think we got everything ready to go there. And here we are in our cold and dark state. That's where we want to be. So let's get this thing ready to rock and roll. Starting with our pre-flight checks here. And this is a really short checklist for this aircraft, but it's default. It's not very complex. So battery master off. That's this one right here. Beacon lights, it says off. I like them on. They're staying that way. There are no chocks, but the parking brake is set. So at this point, we go to battery master on. And there it is. Nav lights can come on at this point. That's these guys right here, so we'll turn those on. Seatbelt and no smoking signs come on. Ding dong. Logo lights, if it was nighttime, we'd turn those on. Wing lights, we don't need them right now. Power fuel door, we can't do anything with that, so now we can go ahead and start the APU. So the way to start the APU, you click on the APU start button, and you let it spin up for a few seconds. And it takes a minute or so. It doesn't really take very long, but there's nothing on our displays here that'll show us what's actually going on. We can't pull up any menu that shows us where the APU's at. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to just flip our nav source over to GPS because that's what we're going to be flying on today. I've already gone ahead and programmed in those extra waypoints in the GPS. You don't know what those are yet because I haven't shown you the departure briefing, but guess what? When we do the departure briefing, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so APU should be spun up by now in this thing because it's really quick, so we can turn the APU generator on. That's this one right here. There she is. Gen 1 and 2 both need to be off, which they are. Hydraulic switches, we can't do anything with those. They're not simulated in this aircraft. And our charts are technically on board and checked and ready to go. We're not doing the passenger loading on this because I don't want to mess with all the little tricks to get the doors to open and stuff like that. So we're not going to actually load passengers. So next on our checklist would be initializing the FMC, but since we don't actually have one, there's nothing to initialize. So that's going to take us right up to the before start checklist. First thing we want to do is check and make sure the doors are closed. I don't think there's a doors page on this. Let's take a look real quick. Let me move this over here. Nope. Flight controls, they're working. Nope, no doors page. So we'll just pop outside real quick. Slide on over. All the doors are closed on this side. All the doors are closed on that side, which means the doors are closed. Yaw damper comes on at this point. Now it's up here. I don't know if it's normally up here on the MCP because this is yaw damper function down here as well. It says engage right there. So it may just be the default aircraft. They went ahead and put it in here. But if you know, let me know. If you don't know, don't worry. I have a friend who flies CRJs in the real world, and sooner or later we're going to get him over here and he will explain all to us. Flight director switch comes on. Did it light up? There it goes. I looked away too quick. Flight director panel, set course. You don't know this yet, but I do. We're going to be starting out at 070 on our departure. So let's scroll this over here. And that's going to be right there, give or take a little bit. I'm going to move the heading switch over there, or the heading bug over there as well, and that'll let us know about where we're at. When we do the departure briefing, you will see that we're going to take off. Our initial heading is heading 070, so there we go. Display control panel set the barometric pressure, which is 299.5 according to my weather source of active sky. Let's get that out of the way. Which one's the barometric pressure? That's format and range, decision height. It's this one, right? Yep. What did I say? 299.5? 299.5. That doesn't look right to me. So if I hit the B or the Bravo button, it moved it just a little bit. So it's 299.4. It's pretty close. And that's the shortcut key. The B button just sets your barometric pressure for you automatically, or your altimeter. Same thing. Let's see. Set nav source to FMS. We set it to GPS. Radio panel. We're not tuning any radios at the moment. We don't need to. And let's see. What's next? Set initial altitude. Our initial altitude, actually for this one, we can pretty much just go straight up. You will see for our departure that we need to climb to 5,900 feet at a certain rate of climb, and then after that we can climb at whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and just set this all the way up to flight level 330, not 340. There we go, 330, ready to go there. Set the initial heading, that's already been done, which means we're ready for push and start. That's the fun part, right? So let's pull up our GSX here. Prepare for pushback and departure. We need to. We're Alaska Airlines now. Almost got that wrong. Horizon Air is sort of a commuter for Alaska Airlines. I should have selected that quicker, right? Whoops. Oh no, it selected United for me. No. Pushback and departure. Well, I guess we're using United today. Nose left, tail right. We don't want to start before pushback. And there we go. And so that's pretty much the sum of it there until we're ready to start the engine. So let's let him get all set up. Let him do his thing.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Excellent. Any day, fellas, any day.
Locking gear.
I still think that the GSX is just a little slow. It's an awesome program, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's just a little slow for my taste.
In the event that he does not, you will find puke bags located in the seat pockets.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
So I just use the period key on this one?
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start that wheel.
There's no, the actual parking brake doesn't, you can't do anything with it in the aircraft. So, is that, oh, I stand corrected. I thought for some reason it was up here. Please release parking brakes. They are released. Oh, I must have clicked it accidentally. Okay. So yeah, I guess you can actually do the parking brakes. Okay, let's go ahead and start engine number 1 here. And let's see. ignition, first things first, continuous ignition goes on, and then we press the left engine start button, and it does the fuel automatically for us, so it starts quick and easy on this thing. It's already put the fuel in place. And once she's stabilized a little bit, we'll turn the left generator on, and then we'll do the same thing for the right engine. You can probably hear me flipping my checklist here.
Emergency exits are marked with a red exit sign overhead. We know this may come as a shock to some of you.
There she is. She's coming back down, stabilizing.
Exit signs by the exit doors.
I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and start the right engine. Click on the start engine button. It does the fuel level for you. So fuel is already being inserted in the engine. There she goes. You know what I forgot? We need to turn Gen 1 on. So Gen 1 is on at this point. I almost always forget the generators because I get ahead of myself. Let's let that stabilize, and then we'll go to turn on Gen 2. And then once Gen 2 is on, we can worry about taking care of the APU and stuff like that.
This aircraft is
looks like he didn't bother to wait for us. He just took off.
Located on the floor in the aisle.
Alright, engine stabilized. Let's go ahead and turn Gen 2 on. And at this point, the APU generator can come off. This one here, and the APU can go off. We'll wait for the APU to turn off a second. You click at the light stage click for a second, then it goes off.
Set parking brake.
Parking brake is set.
That being said,
you guys do your thing. And while you're doing that, next would be power fuel door closed and checked. You can't do anything about that on here. Left and right AC packs, you can't do anything about those. So that moves us right into our taxi and before takeoff checklist. So we need to set our flaps to 20, so we'll do that first. There's flaps to 20. There's nothing to do with the FMC because it doesn't exist in this aircraft.
Tow truck disconnected.
And then it'll be parking brakes released. I'm going to turn the taxi lights on into their eyes. Squawk code on the transponder is going to remain 1200 for now. There it is. Strobe lights on, and then landing lights on when we turn onto the runway. So let's put those strobes on. Strobe lights, logo lights are still on. We'll turn the lights on. And we are ready to rock and roll. So what do you say we go ahead and
Left is clear. Right is clear.
As your flight attendant is demonstrating.
Okay, we're good now? Y'all done? Oh, there he is waving at us. Alright, now we can go ahead and taxi on out of here.
If you are traveling with children or are seated next to someone.
Alright, for our departure today, we're going to take the LAX7 departure. And as we're starting to see with a lot of our departures and arrivals, there's actually two parts to this. We've got our chart view here, which we're going to take a quick look at, and then I'll drag over the text version here in just a minute. So we're taking runway 7 left, and the only information we really get on here is we see that we're heading straight out at heading 070, and we'll get more information from the text version here in a minute. But basically what it's going to tell us, and I'll show you where I got the information at, is we're going to expect vectors to SLI, which is the sealed beach VOR right here. And then from there, basically on to course. Now, the first actual waypoint in our flight today is MZB, or the Mission Bay VOR down here. So we need to turn to Seal Beach here, and then from there down to Dana. And that's at, looks like a minimum of 4,000 feet. And we'll take a look at the text version and see if it gives us any restrictions there. And it's on the 120 degree radial from the Seal Beach VOR. We'll continue on the same radial, let's see. Yeah, we'll continue on the same radial. I saw the radial 300, but that's going the other way. We could also intercept from Dana. We could take the 300 radial to the Oceanside VOR, or we could continue on the 120 degree radial from the Seal Beach VOR. It's pretty much the same thing. We're heading in the same exact direction. We're not changing heading. So from Dana down here to Oceanside VOR, and then from Oceanside VOR we'll hang a left. And you know, it looks to me, I mean, this is 13 miles between Oceanside VOR and Tariff, and because we don't have an actual flight management system in our aircraft, we have to use the default GPS to plot these particular waypoints in the route. I'm probably going to skip Tariff and just go straight to Mission Bay from there. It's a straight shot on the 146 degree radial from Oceanside VOR out to Mission Bay. And this is actually an airway. I'm not sure which airway it is. It doesn't show it on this chart, but if I pulled up an airways chart it would, but again, we don't have a flight management system, so I'm not going to be flying technically the airways because I can't plot it into the GPS. It's only direct to this waypoint, direct to the next waypoint, and so on. That's how it works in the default GPS there. Now let's take a quick look at the text version here. And we've seen this information up here before. This is our rate of climb, and then based on or our angle of climb, and then based on our ground speed, it gives us our feet per minute, our rate of climb. So we want to scroll down here. Runways 7 left and 7 right, jet runways only. It gives us right here 5.2% to 5,900 feet. All right, so that's the max rate of climb down here. Our rotation speed is going to be around 140 knots today, but as we start to climb out, we'll get up to 180, even up to 210 knots like we did in our last flight. So, you know, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 feet per minute up to 5,900 feet. After that, the only thing it gives us is that we have a minimum altitude at the SLI VOR of 4,000 feet. So we're good there anyway. We basically unrestricted climb at that point because we're not actually using ATC. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, when are we going to do that? I actually really want to. I really want to, and there's a couple of decent ATC programs out there. Right now, more than anything, there's really two issues. One, I really need to take a look at the ones that are available. I don't like the way the voices are. They really annoy the crap out of me. They really do. But I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go ahead and just suck it up with the voices until something better comes along, which who knows when that'll be. But in the meantime, the second issue is money. It costs money. I don't really have any money. I splurged. I haven't bought anything for my flight simulator in like 6-7 months, something like that. It's been a while. Maybe it hasn't been quite that long, but it's been a while. I've been really good. You know, money's a little tight, so I haven't purchased anything. And then yesterday, I broke down the pro version of Majestic's Dash 8 came out, and it was an upgrade cost. So I didn't have to pay the full cost of the pro version. I just had to pay the difference between the pilot version, which I already had, and the pro version. So it came to, you know, 35 bucks or something like that. So I jumped on that. And for those of you who are Q400 fans or Dash 8 fans, whichever you want to call it, I know a lot of folks don't like the Dash 8, but for those of you who are fans, I'm actually, that thing is an extremely complex aircraft. They did one heck of a job on that. So I'm thinking about doing a series of videos that are just dedicated to that Dash 8 Q400. If you like that idea, let me know down in the comments, and that'll give you some more motivation to it. Okay, enough about that. That is our departure briefing for today. My apologies for dragging on so long. I do that sometimes. But there we go. Let's go ahead and let's get this show on the road, shall we? Alright, here we are holding short of runway 7 left, ready to rock and roll. Last thing we need to do here is make sure that our landing lights come on. Taxi lights can go off at this point. Double check, make sure the approach path is clear, which it is. And out onto the runway we go. Maybe, if we can get the throttles working. There they go. Probably just in time too. Looks like we got somebody pulling up behind us there. He's probably wondering what's taking us so long. And we'll do a roll and takeoff here. We can't set our V speeds. I haven't actually calculated them. There is a way to calculate them. I just haven't done it. And yeah, if that's something you want to see me doing, let me know. I will calculate them for you. But in the meantime, we're going to rotate, like I said, right around 130, 140 knots. And that's about the sum of it. So let's get this bird in the air, shall we? It can be a little harder sometimes to really, I mean, we really try to get the realism in there. That's what I'm trying to do. Get it as realistic as possible. But some things are a little harder with these default aircraft. I could calculate it. The videos are already a little long, so I haven't really been doing it. There's 80 knots, by the way. So it's definitely something I probably should start doing. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if that's something you want to see. There's 140, so we'll rotate. And there she is. Positive rate of climb. Gear can come up at this point. And yeah, we're already set to pull them throttles back a little bit.
Gear
Definitely beyond the necessary rate of climb, so we're good to go there. And throttle's coming back just a little bit. looking pretty good right there. Like I said, we'll be between 180 and probably 210 knots, give or take a little bit. Landing gear is up at this point. Monitoring the speeds, we can start bringing the flaps up. Let's go to flaps 8 at this point here. Looking pretty good. We're climbing 072. There's always a couple degrees off in FSX. That's just kind of to be expected. One thing we haven't done yet is set our fake, I call it fake because it is, our fake auto throttle here. We'll set it to 240 knots. I think we're good to go at this point. We could assume that by now we'd get our vectors from ATC to go direct to, come on, brain doesn't want to work, Seal Beach. So hold altitude, hold speed, autopilot engage. We should start seeing a right turn here shortly. There it is. Rolling right into it, and let's see, what's our rate of climb right now? Let's take that up to 2,500 feet per minute. That's a pretty good rate of climb. Flaps can come all the way up at this point. We've got plenty of speed. Everything's looking pretty good. Let's see what else we need to do. Back to the checklist. It's kind of a flows and then a checklist thing, you know. You want to make sure there's some things you get them done without thinking about it. Then you go back to the checklist and make sure you didn't miss anything, and it looks like we haven't. So our climb checklist, landing lights need to go off once we get above 10,000 feet, and once we get above flight level 180, we need to go ahead and set our altimeter to the standard setting of 2992. Nothing else to do except wait to turn off the landing lights. So you know what that means. That means it's time for some obligatory elevator music. Alright, a quick look at the cruise checklist here. You may note that we're at flight level 350. I went ahead and did a step climb because we're pretty light. We don't have a lot of fuel on board. We're down to 7,700 pounds. I'll probably do another step climb up to 370 here in a little while. But that being said, we can still go ahead and take care of the cruise checklist, which is really short, not much to it. Mainly it's monitoring the speed. And right now we're at just below 320 knots, Mach 0.80 or 89 maybe, I don't know, let's see, Mach 0.89, which is about the max there actually, so we're going to have to roll that back here pretty soon. We haven't gotten any overspeed warnings. I think I'm going to go ahead and bring that down just a little bit. Let's change it to Mach, and let's just pull it back just a little bit. Come on. There we go. And other than that, monitoring the fuel, make sure everything's good to go. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of the cruise checklist. So what do you say we listen to a little more music? Alright, we're just about at our top of descent here. It's a very short checklist. We're supposed to check the annunciator panel, verify that there's no cautions. We don't really have a full annunciator panel, and we don't have anything on our MFD here that gives us really any enunciations of any sort. So there's nothing to check there. Altitude and speed limits, we check those obviously, and that's pretty much the sum of it. So we're probably 15 miles from our top descent right now, which certainly isn't too far out. And so it seems to me, based on our current position, we're just over 100 miles out. So let's go ahead and start our descent here. And we're going to be going down to 2,000 feet. So let's go ahead and scroll this down. Okay, boom. Alright, there's 2,000 feet. So we've begun our descent at this point. I'm going to slow the rate of descent just a little bit because we started a little early. So, alright, so for our approach into La Paz today, we're going to be taking runway 36. The current weather is, the wind is 320 to 8 knots. So we've got runway 18 and runway 36. Those are our only two options in La Paz. Now La Paz doesn't have any arrivals. There's no arrival procedures, no stars. But what they do have is this transitions sheet, which this is the first time I've actually seen one of these, and I pretty much understand what's going on here. However, for our approach today, our last waypoint before La Paz, before the La Paz VOR, is the LTO VOR, which is basically up here, off of this radial here. So from LTO to La Paz, for us, we fly heading 145, and on here from Tulis, it's heading 146. So it's pretty close to this transition at Tulis here. Tulis. I don't know how you say it. I'm gonna keep saying Tulis. So again, because we don't have a flight management system and I'm using the default GPS, instead of putting this waypoint in there, since it's only off by 1 degree, I'm going to just fly from LTO straight to La Paz VOR. Now, that's basically our arrival. Let's go ahead and take a look at the approach right now, because we have a pretty interesting approach today. This is the VOR DME 136 approach. Alright, and the frequency 112.3 is for the La Paz VOR. Now, there is no ILS for this runway, but that's alright. I'm kind of excited to do this approach because we haven't done one of these before, and to me this is a little bit harder in the sim because you don't have a feel. I don't know, it's just, I haven't flown a lot of these approaches, so I'm kind of excited to see how we do. So here's how this goes. We're going to be coming in over here on the 145 degree
we're passing transition altitude,
to
Captain.
LAP. And when we get to the La Paz VOR, this is our initial approach fix. We're actually going to hang a right, and we're going to take the outbound 198 degree radial from the La Paz VOR at 2,000 feet, and we're basically flying it for 9 miles. Alright, so that's what we're looking for. This is why it's a DME, distance measuring equipment. If you don't have distance measuring equipment in your aircraft, you can't fly this, you can't fly this approach. Alright, so the key here is we're going to fly this radial for 9 miles. We're going to be going pretty slow when we do this because this isn't that far out, 9 miles. So we're going to basically be, my plan anyway is to be geared down by the time we hit this 9 mile mark, or D9 LAP, which is distance 9 miles from LAP. So once we hit 9 miles, we're going to do a standard rate turn, I guess is what it is. It looks close to a steep turn. I don't know. It's going to depend on how fast we're going. But basically, we're going to start make a left turn all the way around to 360 degrees. All right. So that's a long turn there. That's a very long turn, and we have to remain within 11 miles of LAP. That's key right here. So we start that turn at 9 miles. We need to watch our distance measuring equipment and make sure that we don't go beyond 11 nautical miles from the La Paz VOR. And when we come around to 360, we should be staring at the runway. Now our final, our landing runway heading is, it looks like about 355 degrees. Alright, so let's take a look down here at the bottom at what we got going on here. So as far as our runway is concerned, it's not a very long runway at all, so we're going to have to really get this plane on the ground. We can't really afford to float it. It's 45 meters wide by 2,500 meters long, standard 3-degree glide slope with happy lights on the left-hand side. Our landing altitude, our touchdown zone, there's no gradient in the touchdown zone, and there's no real gradient to the runway. Touchdown zone is at 68 feet. Alright, so as we come in here, remember, remain within 11 nautical miles of lap, coming at 2,000 feet at 7.4 miles from LAP. That's our descent point. We start descending there at 360 degrees down to either our touchdown or our missed approach point. Now, for the missed approach, we need to intercept the 355 degree radial from the LAP VOR. Alright, and at distance 7 or 7 nautical miles from the LAP VOR, we make a right turn, remaining within 10 nautical miles of LAP, come back to LAP and climb to 3,000 feet, and we hold at LAP. Sounds like a lot. Let's take a look at let's see what that looks like here. So as we come in here, we circle back around. If we perform a missed approach, okay, we're going to climb out on the 355 degree radial from the LAP VOR. Okay, at 7 nautical miles from LAP VOR, we're going to make a right turn, just like we did our left turn down here. It looks almost directly the opposite. If you look at it here, we got 2 teardrops going on. Make a right turn, but we must remain within 10 nautical miles of LAP, so we don't want to go beyond that 10 nautical miles out. Make a right turn, coming all the way back around to intercept the LAP VOR, and then when we intercept it, we're going to hold at the LAP VOR at 3,000 feet until otherwise instructed by ATC. Again, we're not using ATC, but if for some reason we have to do a missed approach, I'm going to try and make sure I get this procedure right, because I've done 1 or 2 of them and they've been kind of ugly. So this is going to be a little tricky. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to get it perfect. I haven't done an approach like this in a long time, and I have not done it in an aircraft this fast. I've always done it in slower aircraft such as a Cessna 172 or a Beech Baron. Those are much slower. So we'll see how we do on this. I'm excited about it. Let's get going on this approach here. Alright, we're just about on top of the La Paz VOR now, just coming up on 2,000 feet, right where we want to be. You can see the airport just ahead there. I've brought the speed down to 175 knots, and our flaps are already set to 20. We've tuned the radio to the La Paz VOR at 112.30. You can see that's done there. And we've already gone ahead and set our course for 198 degrees. That is the radio we're going to fly outbound from the La Paz VOR. Now I'm going to make this a little larger here. Try and find the best place to put it where it's not really in the way. Let's put it right here. I'm going to shrink it down just a little. I don't want it to be in the way, but we need to be able to see it. So we're looking for this green bar to center up here, and as it centers up, we're going to turn to 198 degrees using our heading mode selector here, and we're going to fly that for 9 miles outbound. So we're looking for the 9-mile marker here. When we hit 9 on this is our distance measuring equipment. When we hit 9 on this, we're going to hang a left turn all the way around to 360 degrees. So as soon as I start this right turn, and matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and let's just bring this on down to you know what, we're good right here. Let's stay at 170. At 185 knots we go flaps 30, so we're at 170 now. Let's go to flaps 30 and see if we don't get an alarm. I don't think we will because it's default, but we can bring gear down at this point anyway. So gear's coming down. We're only 2.5 miles out from the VOR now. So I want to keep our speed nice and low to make this as easy as possible because this is going to be interesting. So let's bring that speed on down a little bit more now. Let's bring it down to 155 knots. There we go. And we can bring in that last setting of flaps as well. And now we are pretty much configured for landing. As soon as we make this right turn, I'm going to go through the approach checklist to make sure we've got everything done. Basically, we've already done some of it, but we got to go through the checklist anyway. So 1 mile out now. Sometimes it'll say that we're on top of it before we really are, but that's all right. So let's get ready to start making this turn here. Yep, we'll start making it right now at a ½ mile out. 0.4. Remember, we're going 198 degrees. Yep, we overshot it a little bit there. Come on, turn, baby. Alright, so we had to overdo the turn a little bit there. That's alright, that'll happen, but we're basically going to come all the way back around until we get back on course there. Real quick, the navs are set. Transition altitude's taken care of. We can go shift tab. That'll arm our speed brakes. Landing lights are already on because we're below 10,000 feet, and I'm trying to watch this while I'm doing that. We need to go a little further to the right here. Flaps are fully extended, gear is down. We need to set the go-around altitude and heading. We will do that as soon as we turn off the autopilot. I'll try to remember to. I forgot to last time. But the go-around altitude is, as you may remember, 3,000 feet, and the heading is 355 degrees. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And you can see from La Paz, we're 2.6 miles out. Let's go ahead and start making this turn back here. We don't want to overshoot it again. Alright, coming up on our 198 degree radial, which is right where we want to be. Probably overshoot it just a little bit again. We got pretty close this time. We're going to overshoot it just a tiny bit. We're 3.5 miles. There's 198. Let's hold that. Alright, looking good so far. We're flying this with flaps out, flaps down, gear down. Everything's ready to rock and roll. The reason I'm using the autopilot, two reasons really, but one, because I'm not that familiar with this type of approach, but more importantly, this this yoke I have is very, very sensitive in this airplane, and really in all the airplanes, and I don't want to be jerking all over the place and, you know, climbing and descending and porpoising all over because I can't control the aircraft very well. So I'm going to fly it on autopilot as long as possible. As soon as we hit 9 DME here, we're going to make a left turn all the way to 360 degrees. Let's go to 200 there. It's probably off by a couple degrees. It almost always is. And that is it for our approach checklist. So we're good on all that. So I'm just going to keep you guys here with me, and let's just fly this all the way through. This is an interesting approach. I mean, I think it's pretty cool, actually. I'm glad we get an opportunity to do it. So don't pick on me too bad if it's an absolute disaster. But we're coming up just a couple miles to go here. We probably could have flown it a little faster, but again, I'm not that familiar with this type of approach, and you know, I didn't want to make any mistakes. I want to get it right so that you guys see the proper way to do it. So we're on that 198 degree radial, maybe off just by a tiny bit. That's, you know, some of that's just the differences in magnetic headings within Flight Simulator. They're always off by a little bit because they do, in the real world, they do change over time. There's 8.3 right there. So as soon as we hit 9 DME, we start our left turn to 360 degrees, and we should see the airport right in front of us. We're coming up on it quick. There's 8.8, 8.9, and there's 9 right there. So 360 degrees. We don't want to go beyond 11. Remember, we got to stay within 11 nautical miles. So hopefully we won't overshoot, huh? Alright, 9.5, 9.6. Doing alright though. It looks like we're going to be just about perfect. Keep it coming around. There's 10. We're still within a mile, so we're doing alright so far. All the way to 360 degrees. And then once we roll out of it, we should see where we're at. There's 10.1. It looks like we're going to be spot on with this. So I'm pretty excited about that. Everybody clap. I did a good job. Yay, me. No, nothing. Crickets. Oh, wait, I can't hear you. We're on this is a video. Alright, 9.9, so we're back underneath. So we're doing really good. Coming all the way around there. And we should see the airport coming up here in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off now. You don't need to see that anymore. And there's the airport right there. So as you can see, autopilot's going to come off at this point. Autopilot disengaged because that turn was sharper than anticipated, clearly. Get just a little trim in there. Speed's doing fine, so let's go ahead and set the go around altitude at 3,000 feet and set our course to 355 and our heading to 355. There it is right there. And we got to bring this all the way around and we can start descending now. Altitude hold was still on, my bad. Keep bringing that course all the way around because that's what we need to do, is fly that course outbound if we have a missed approach, which I'm hoping we won't. Okay, so we are hand flying now with the exception of the fake autopilot, or not the fake autopilot, but the fake auto throttle. I'm allowing that to do its thing for the moment. And we're looking pretty good, so yep, not much else to do but fly it on in. We've already had our 2,500 foot call. And that's expected when you consider that we came in at 2,000 feet. That's what we flew that outbound leg on. So, and that turn was sharper than it needed to be even. But that's, you know what, that's not a bad thing. We got all the way around and we had plenty of distance. We had 10 miles to make sure that we knew where we were going. We do need that speed to come down a little bit lower now. Let's bring it all the way down here to 125 knots.
1,000.
There we go. There's our 1,000 foot call out. Let's go ahead and turn that fake speed thing off.
Don't sink.
Alright, and everything is manual now, so we're looking good. We are a little fast. That's my fault. Okay, speed's coming down now, though. Just a little below the glide slope there. Not too bad. Boy, the speed works quick on this thing, let me tell you. Alright. Coming back up on the glide slope right where we want to be. Just a skosh right, or skosh left of center there, but not too bad. A little bit more trim. And yeah, we're still a little low. Come on and get her up there.
400.
Yeah, I don't like being below this glide slope. That's not the way to fly it, is it? Come on. There we go. Now we can let that nose come down just a little bit. Bring in just a tiny bit of throttle there. Not too much, because she'll go. She goes quick. Yep, now we're just a little high. I kind of saw that coming. I put in a little too much throttle. Alright, looking good. Short runway.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Settle down. There she is. Not too bad. Let's get those reversers on. Applying full brakes at this point. Alright, I know this chart's a little hard, but as we're rolling out here, this is a very short runway. If we're not able to make Alpha here, then our only option is to go to the end of the runway, turn around, and then come back to Alpha. And then it's my intention to park right here at parking space or gate number 7, provided that nobody else is parked there. Alright, so we made it off at Alpha. Didn't think we would, but we sure did. So Let's go ahead and take care of our checklist here after landing. We've confirmed that the speed brake lever is down, which it is. APU needs to come on at this point, so we'll start that right there. Strobe lights can go off. Where are you at, strobe lights? There's the strobe lights. Landing lights off at this point. That just makes sense. Flaps are already up, taxi lights are on, so that is our after landing checklist. And we don't have a very long taxi here, so I'll just have you stick with me on this. We'll be making a left and then our first right. We'll park right here on the end as planned. So all is looking well in the world. This is actually a pretty good flight. We did good. I think we did really good on that approach. Couple things maybe we could have done a little different, but you know, for one, we didn't necessarily have to go as slow as we did, but I wasn't sure. So there you have it. Yeah, other than that, I think it went pretty darn good, to be honest with you. So pretty excited about that. Pull her on in here. Remember that the even though the nose wheel's way off in the front of us, it actually we need to be pretty much on top of this thing to even be close. So there we go. We'll go with that. And I out of habit I hit control period, but the parking brake is now set at this point, and we can go right into our shutdown checklist here. So we'll go ahead and turn the taxi lights off. Parking brake is set. APU generator needs to come on now. That's this one over here. Gens 1 and 2 go off. 1 and 2 are off. Engine fuel levers both go off. That's these two down here. Seatbelt signs and no smoking signs can come off now as passengers start getting ready to get off the airplane. Logo lights, oh, sorry, they were off. Wing lights can go off. Strobe lights stay as they are. Nav lights go off. Beacon lights will stay on. Air conditioning pack switches. These are not simulated, but here's all the air conditioning stuff. You can see none of this is simulated, so we don't do anything with those. Exterior light switches as needed. Flight director switch goes off. Let's see. You know, where's the yaw damper off at? Because it's not in the shutdown and it wasn't in the approach, but yaw damper should have come off, I imagine. We can release the parking brake when we're ready, but other than that, everything's good to go at this point. We are shut down, and that is the end of our checklist. So that means that is the end of our flight. It wasn't too bad. You see I need to pull up a little bit further there. And here we are in La Paz, Mexico, and you can tell there's really nothing here. This is obviously not an area that default scenery has had a lot of effort put into, or they didn't put a lot of effort into the default scenery here. There's our fuel truck. But we're good to go. We're here in La Paz, so other than hopping over to the website, which we will do here in a minute, let me pull up ACARS. Now, this is going to look a little funny to you. See how everything's blank? My sim crashed on this flight. I have no idea why, but I got it back up and running. I used the resume flight function. So FSUIPC, I have it set to save the flight every 5 minutes, I think it is. And so what happens if your sim crashes, you end the flight, shut down ACARS, do whatever you got to do to get things working again, restart your simulator, load that saved flight, okay, and then go on here, put in the flight number, press get flight, and the resume flight button will highlight. When you click on that, it'll tell you to load the flight in the sim first. Click OK. Once the flight's loaded in the sim, make sure everything's good, ready to go, you know, nothing's all messed up, gears up, all that good stuff. And then once that's done, you pause the sim, come back over here, you press start flight, and it lets you resume the flight. It just doesn't put all that information back up here. So that's why this looks the way it does. Nonetheless, you can see our total flight time, 2 hours. Good flight today. We kept our good landing speed. I like to keep my landings as smooth as possible, so we're good on that. And that's the gist of it. So let's end this flight now. Now I'm going to tell you one other trick right here too. See, that's 1:59:19, right? It's not. Now let's say we needed exactly 2 hours to get promoted to captain. I've brought this up before. If we needed 2 hours to get promoted to captain and I stopped this at 1:59:19, guess what? We're not getting promoted to captain until we do another flight. All right. So if you need a certain amount of time, I always recommend let it go over that amount of time by 10 seconds if it's reasonable. Now, if we needed 3 hours and we landed at 2, we can't sit here for an hour. That's not going to work. All right, but you know, we're literally talking a matter of seconds here. We could have let it tick all the way down. So it's going to give us credit for an hour and a half, I think. I think it does it in half-hour blocks. And that's fine because the total time will reflect this. So when we get to those last few hours before promotion, it doesn't mean that you don't get credit for that other half hour. All right, but if we had 2 hours to go and we stop at 1:59:19, we're not getting that promotion. We're gonna have to do another flight. Make sense? Okay, I think it makes sense. File the PIREP, maybe. It's taking its time. There we go. It's filed, and because we had to resume the flight, I hate when it does that. Because we had to resume the flight, there is a possibility that that the PIREP will have to be manually approved. That's fine. It's not a big deal. So that sums it up, ladies and germs. Here we are once again, La Paz in Horizon Air CRJ 700, and that's 2 more hours knocked out of our flight schedule, moving towards a promotion of captain. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to my channel. Give us a thumbs up down below if you like the videos, and if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Just put them in the comment section down below. Other than that, let's hop on over to the website, wrap this thing up, and call this a day. Alright, ladies and germs, here we are back on the website, and it looks like we don't have to wait for a manual approval. Before this flight started, we were at 64 hours until promotion, and now we're at 62. That means it was approved. Let's take a quick look, make sure everything's good to go. Los Angeles to La Paz. That's me, Captain Mac. 2 hours, 20 minutes. We flew at 1 hour, 59 minutes. Decent profit percentage, 51.44%. Let's see, where does it show the fuel used? Fuel used was 2394 kilograms, and you know, that's weird. That's in kilograms for fuel used, but down here the takeoff fuel was 9,029 and landing was 3,888. So there's the amount of fuel we used. No warnings, everything was good to go. Good flight. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And there's nothing left to say, so I guess I will see you guys next time. Until then, as always, no, I'm not going to say it this time. Not going to do it. Alright, I'll say it. Keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. You folks have a great day.